Hello and welcome to another episode of Supercoach Insider. My name is Chris and welcome to round 5 team update. Wow, big week. Lots has happened. Some good, some bad. It was all over the place. It was an interesting week. I definitely made some abnormal trades that some would say are a little bit reckless. I did end up pretty much following through with my trades last week, and I will get into that a little bit. But let's start this off with the update, of course, with the score. So 23.51 is what I got this week. So pretty good. I did leave some points on the table. I will go through a little bit. That has obviously propelled me a little bit further up the ranking. So I think I dropped down to 22.15 last week. So had a rank rise of 1,213 this week. I'm actually one solitary point out of the top 1,000 right now, which could have been last week I took Wilmot over Cowan, and they Cowan got an extra point. So so I could be in the top 1,000 right now. I think I'm tied with like 12 or 15 people or something like that. So it's pretty close in that top 1,000 mark. But I did have a look at the leader, and the leader's like 700 points ahead of me. So like, I'm not saying it's completely out of the realm of possibilities to sort of catch up that much, because you can do quite a bit over the buys. But yeah, that's a huge amount. I'm not sure. I think that's off the table in terms of winning, but look, maybe we can make a charge towards the top 100 and somehow stay around there. I'm pretty happy with my team overall, which is good. But let's just go through everything. So first things first, my trades. So I ended up rolling through with some abnormal trades, as mentioned. I traded out Laird, which is probably the biggest one. I went Laird down to Dawson. Now, hindsight's a wonderful thing. A jury's out whether or not that was a good trade or not, and I really won't know. Now, what we do know straight off the bat is that obviously Dawson did outscore Laird, but it was only 17 points. So really, did I gain much from there? The reason why I traded Laird, though, wasn't necessarily only Laird. Don't get me wrong. I have reservations about Laird moving forward and about what he's able to produce. But yeah, we'll see how we go. I may end up with Laird back in my team. He has a really hard running of fixtures for the next however many weeks. And then after the buys, it actually eases up quite substantially. So I could find myself back with Laird at some point, especially with his price is actually quite decent at the moment. But the part of the reasoning was that I needed to trade a midfielder to downgrade last week. So if I wanted to make a move and do an upgrade, I could either have burnt my entire cash or I could have got Van Ruin in. And I really thought that Van Ruin was a worthy cash cow that was going to make really quick cash. And even with a 52, he's already gone up 60k. So I really wanted Van Ruin. I didn't want to not grab him for that reason. Which obviously meant that I had to trade someone out. I ended up originally the plan was to trade out Jones down to and yeah, and so this is all annoying, right? So initially the plan was to trade out Jones. Now, if I was to trade out Jones to Van Ruin, the only way to do that was to also include a midfielder in the trade. And at the time, I thought about trading out Laird. So I went through and I made my selections. I went Laird down to Dawson, switched everything around. I was able to obviously move Constable into the midfield. Laird down to Dawson. I went Doherty up to Stewart. So obviously really good trades in terms of ins, but I did lose that score from Laird. Now, hindsight's a wonderful thing. So, just before I was obviously busy on Thursday night, I think like everyone is getting back from work. Didn't have much time before there. Was it Thursday or Friday? Friday when the Sunday squads were announced. I think it was like a 5:10 p.m. game time. And so 5 p.m. is when you get the notification that of the Sunday squads. And that's when we realised that Cam McKenzie was dropped. And then the Hawks announced that he was going to be the sub. And I just thought, what's the likely scenario? The likely scenario is he comes in the last quarter, plays forward, maybe scores 20. And then tanks his cash gen for the subsequent weeks. The whole purpose of actually keeping C-Mac was literally to spike another score in these 2 weeks while Day was out, of course, with suspension. So if I'm only really trying to hold him to try and get that spike score, but one of those weeks he's capped in terms of his earning potential. Of course, he could have been subbed on early, and I think Bruce in the first quarter had a bit of a hamstring niggle, or looked like a hamstring niggle, and then it turned out it was just a corky. And then Wingard, I think, came off in the first quarter as well. I was thinking, C-Mac's going to come on pretty quick. And then it didn't end up coming on until, I think, maybe 5 minutes to go in the third. So yeah, exactly what I actually thought would happen happened. And so therefore I was like, okay, well, I'm going to switch and I'm going to trade out C-Mac instead of Jones. I'm going to keep Jones, which obviously was a huge win in terms of points because obviously I played Jones on field. I would have had Wilmot on field. So when Wilmot went 68, I was cursing because I was like, ugh, just my luck. I try and make a play to get some points. And then as it turns out, Wilmot goes 68. I would have obviously taken 68 in a heartbeat. Jones going 88, obviously is a plus 20-point move, so that's good. Trading out C-Mac, though, the thing is, if I'd had more time, I only had 10 minutes to do all this in because obviously I needed to trade it out before. When did I find out? I can't remember when I found out, but obviously I needed the trades to go through. Or maybe I'd already traded. No, I'd already traded Laird because I had to trade Laird on the Thursday night. So I couldn't have done C-Mac anyway without that information. So that information would have been useful 24 hours earlier. If I had that information that C-Mac was going to be out 24 hours earlier, I wouldn't have needed to trade Laird in order to get Van Ruin. And I probably would have held him, but I wouldn't have got Dawson. So I suppose swings and roundabouts, it's cost me a trade and a boost now, which is really frustrating. We'll see how we go. Again, Laird, I'm not completely sold on his ability to go 120 plus, but I think he does go 110, which still would put him quite easily as a top 6, especially right now. I had a look earlier today. There's only 9 mids that are averaging 109 and above. Last year, there was 14 over the season. It's a real bad mid regression with points this year. So let's see if they can turn that around. So it ended up being Laird out, C-Mac out, and who else was out? And Doherty, of course, out. So unfortunately, I wanted to upgrade last week. Didn't get to upgrade because of the Doherty situation. Basically did 2 sideways trades and a cash generation, which left me with 203k in the bank. So the purpose of this is I looked at the horizon, and this week there looked like there was only going to be 1 rookie available. Turns out, completely wrong. There's heaps of rookies. So Matty Roberts obviously comes in with a 93 this week. If he can, not be the sub and actually get some permanent game time, his PPM this week was like 1.01. He get a 1.7 as one of the subs. He must have kicked a goal in that time. Not bad. Playing basically a pure wing roll. So we obviously know what wing rolls can do. You can get spike scores, but you can also just pump out 50s. But he does look like a guy that you could potentially field. I think that he's basically as good as Baker. So if you're trading Baker out and getting Roberts in, that's basically what it's a like-for-like replacement in regards to scoring potential, in regards to cash gen. So there's that. And then we also had Johnson come in, and he played quite well. I think he got a 67 for his score. He did kick a goal to get that. So some people arguing that maybe he's not the best rookie, but not too bad. Dylan Williams. He did another half-decent score. His job security is a bit iffy, with Jonas potentially coming back this week. So we'll have to keep an eye on those. But all of a sudden there's 3 rookies and 6 downgrade options next week, which is just absolutely ridiculous. So part of the reason why I wanted to do that downgrade so bad was to get cash so I can start upgrading, right? And now there's plenty of rookies available, and I probably didn't need to pull that trigger, and it's a bit frustrating. But let's go through quickly the team. So obviously the Jordan Dawson 152 was nice. Dacos 128 again. It's crazy that Dacos is basically D1 right now at 133 average. Stewart, 135 was brilliant. Got some really nice points really late, which is good. His 103 average is a bit of a misguided one because one of those has an 18 in its score. His actual true average is 131. So these guys are basically D1, D2, D3 by a mile to the next defender. So these are the guys you must have. If you don't have these guys, obviously they are pricey now. You kind of needed to get on them when you could. Especially someone like Dawson. Like Dawson with the role change, he could do anything this season. Right now, he's M1 as well. So it's just insane. Are you paying $655 for him? I mean, me, I'm chasing value this year. I probably wouldn't, but yeah, if you can facilitate it, great. Jinby, of course, subbed on 51. Now has a break even of 80. I think it's 81. Let's have a look at that. Yep, 81. McKenna, annoyed with the 55. He's got one more week to make cash, and then he's probably gone next week, if I'm honest. So he's got a break even at 25. He's predicted 70. If he goes to 70, you probably keep him. If he goes another 50 score, you probably get rid of him. And then he can become, say, a Sinclair. But yeah, if he gets a 70, he goes up 20k. He's made 300 grand. Oh, and I'm stuffing it up. All good. And then Jones, obviously nice little spike score there as well. So he's now got a break even of 50. Again, you can probably keep him. Break even of 31. So if he gets a back-to-back spike score, then it's on. He could definitely make a lot extra cash. But I mean, right now you're pretty happy with that. 285-ish for these guys to be able to trade out. You could go one down, one up to basically most other premiums with a bit of cash in bank. So, I mean, again, you could probably hold these guys. They're serviceable on field, but I'm looking to get out of them and get into, say, Sinclair, Sicily. Day comes back next week. You one down, one up to Day in a heartbeat, and then just play Wilmot on field, and he'll grind out to, say, 300k or something like that. So, yeah, there's definitely options moving forward with these guys. Into the midfield, so Bont finally pulled out a good score with his 145. LDU, I picked him up, and I've had, I think, what was his score last week? Like 87 or something like that. I've had a 90 and... Hold on, here we go. 90 and 102. That's not terrible, but not amazing. I would have liked these two other scores, but what we've seen here, so if you look, West Coast and Freo obviously are basically, I would say, both bottom four, and he went huge. Carlton and Brisbane, probably top four, and he went mediocre. So there is kind of a trend there. And if we look at what he's got coming up, he should go all right against Gold Coast because Gold Coast aren't really putting up too much of a fight at the moment. So this week should be a half-decent score. But then Melbourne, of course, is the rough one. And then Saints. I mean, Saints have been playing so well. And then Port, and then Sydney, and then Pies, and then Essendon. So there's probably your top 8. Knocks them out the park. He's probably going to drop cash, and then you can pick him up when he goes in his better run. So GWS, Bulldogs, Adelaide, Geelong, 2 out of the 4 there are decent. Hawks and Killer again, then West Coast. Yeah, it's going to be rough scenes. I'm just really hoping that the role sustainable over the year and he can come back, but I'm not expecting a 120 average. If I can get a 110 to 115 from him from here, I think he's still definitely top 10, and I'll keep him for the season. Green 1 week suspension, which is annoying. I would say that they challenged that. It's like he tackled someone, then went to ground, and all of a sudden it's a suspension. It's like, man, like I get like you got to protect the head. I do 100% agree with that. But the merit one as well, like you just like people are trained, like these footballers are trained to take players to ground. Like that's what they're supposed to do. You lock one arm up so they can't handball, and you take them to ground. They've been doing that for I don't even know how long. Now with the green one, it wasn't even a high tackle. Like he rolled him on his shoulder and then spun him. Like frustrating is one way to put it. I know the action is obviously what they're trying to do, but whatever. Gordon was frustrating. lots of turnovers, uncharacteristically, butchered the ball by foot. A lot of his inside, like when he was using the ball inside 50, turned it over. There was a time when he got a 50-meter penalty. I thought he would have been in range to have a shot, and the telecast didn't cut back. Like he must have played on or something, and turned it over before, and I couldn't see what happened on the telecast, so I don't know what happened there. Yeah, super frustrating. Is what it is. I went to chase the VC thinking that he would have 60 to 70% CBAs, which he did. I think he ended up having 61% CBAs. And I was chasing points because a lot of people had the VC on Dawson. So obviously I was thinking, Goulden's going to have a pump because Mills is going to go back. Therefore, there's going to be more CBAs. So everything that I thought would happen happened, except for the big spike score. Maybe, someone that uses the ball like him and is really, really clean just doesn't get that opportunity in the wet. That's probably one thing that I didn't really anticipate. I, on the other hand, thought, okay, more stoppages if he's going to have more CBAs, which means more opportunity, which means more score. Probably should have rethinked that. Setters 91, can't be too upset with that. Obviously, he wasn't a hard tag on Oliver, but he definitely was tagging him. That last quarter where Oliver had 20 disposals, I just don't think Setterfield quite has the tank to be able to go with a Clary in the last quarter. They need to switch that out, but I mean they were winning, so they just probably didn't care. It was kind of out of reach of Melbourne by that point. So whatever. Setterfield, I'm looking to try and keep. He's got a break even of 80 now. I just think he's too valuable on-field scoring right now to just get rid of him. I could trade him out and get, say, a Oliver or something stupid like that if I really wanted to. But why? But you trade Setters up and then you trade someone down, and are those two guys going to make up the points? I don't know. I'd rather just hold Setters while I can and try and upgrade around, especially with Green out for a week, because I'll be holding regardless. I mean, it's only a week. I don't think it's worth trading Green. He's still averaging 107.2, which puts him as, I think, the 15th best mid at the moment anyway. And he's one spike score away from being a really good mid. Just needs a 130 or 140 again, and then he's back. But look, do I love what he's been putting out? I think he's had 4 scores in a row of 106 or below. No, but is it worth trading him to someone that might do the same? No. Yeah, not sold on that. Hopper obviously come back with another spike score. He'll probably get to 450k quite easily now too, which means that we can, basically one down, one up, both Hopper and Setterfield to say any 600k plus mid quite easily, which is good. Ashcroft, again, I'll keep him as an on-field scorer as long as I possibly can. Hopefully he gets to 400k with another spike game. Filippo looked like he could have done anything this week. He was on 55 at half-time, had a goal, was playing inside mid, was absolutely killing it, and then in the second half of the game, he went 12 points. I don't know if that's tank-related or role-related. I didn't see, obviously I was watching the game. I just didn't see anything to say he wasn't around the footy. Maybe he got switched forward. Maybe it's a tank issue. I'm not sure, but wasn't happy with that. I thought he was going to go 80 plus, and he ends up with a 67. Grundy again keeps on keeping on, so hopefully Gawn doesn't come back this week, but there is a rumour swirling that Gawn may be back. Marshall was on 16 points at quarter time. He had 2 frees against and a clanger. Absolutely butchered it, and then he turned into prime Marshall again and all of a sudden came back. So I think, so from 16 points to... so that must mean he had 107 in 3 quarters. So that should have been a 150 game. That first quarter was just an aberration. And unfortunately, what also happened is in this game, basically the game was done and dusted, right? There was 2 minutes to go in the game. I think 2 minutes and 20 seconds. They were 4 goals down and no chance of winning. And then they get a quick goal, then another quick goal, and then another quick goal. But there was virtually no Supercoach points left. So they just stopped allocating them to people. I don't know what happened to all the Supercoach points. There was a time where Marshall took a contested intercept mark on the half forward, on his half forward flank as the ball was coming out. and he kicked it inside 50, and from that inside 50 he scored a goal. Now, I'm not sure if it was a direct goal assist or whatever, but it would have been an effective long inside 50, which would have been worth 4.5 to 5.5 points just in normal without scaling. And then the contested intercept mark is worth 8, so he should have gone up 13 points. He went up 2. So there was something serious wrong there. And then for whatever reason, I don't know why, Marshall decided to come off the ground for the last 2 centre bounces, and Owens took the centre bounce rucks. It was such a strange series of events. It could have been much higher. I thought he was going to go above 130 with ease. I mean, when that contested intercept mark and kick, I was like, yes, absolutely. I'm rooting for it with Captain Marshall, but yeah, it just didn't happen. Good score from Dunks finally. Taranto, again, this is his ceiling, right? So 115 is his ceiling, and then he'll pump out an 85-90 every now and then. But, 1 of 5 to 110, that's pretty much where I see him. Rosie had a bit of a drop in CBAs. I wouldn't worry about that too much. He still scores very, very well with between 50 to 60% CBAs. I think he had 59% for this game. I'm not worried about that. Butters obviously had an increase, and he has scored very well. I'm not trading Rosie to Butters. That is a stupid, stupid trade to do. Zeeble obviously keeps Zeebling. Sheasel keeps Sheaseling. And Chandler. So Chandler has had 2 down weeks since Cozzy returned. Is that role related? Is this what we get from Chandler now? Is he no longer a fieldable option? He works hard. He does the right things. He gets goal assists. He gets goals. But is he a scoring option on field anymore? His break even. You could potentially trade him. Like, he's got a break even of 47. But the one thing with Chandler is his run coming up. So you may want to keep him just based on his opponents. So Richmond this week, then North, Gold Coast, Hawks next 3 weeks. So if he has a spot, you could hold him this week. If he gets a decent score, you want to keep him. He might get to 350k. So I can understand holding him. I can also understand trading him if he's like your only option to trade out of. But again, I'm probably more leaning towards, for a fieldable F6, he's probably the one that I want anyway. Maybe Matt Roberts. He's also a fieldable F6, but you need him in midfield. So we'll see. All right, so moving on. I'll go into my trades for this week now. So had a bit to think about it. It is definitely upgrade season, so we need to be aware of that. As I said, I am holding Green and upgrading him around it, which is annoying because it means that I won't get the benefit of that. I feel like Johnson, who was one that we wanted as, obviously I think it's his 3rd year, fairly mature age guy at a basement price. He's been the sub a couple of times. Same with Matty Roberts, basically similar stories. They've both been the sub twice. And then they've already had their 3rd game, and then this was their 4th game, I think. So they'd actually dropped cash and then gained cash. So very similar boat. We were all looking at Roberts. We were all looking at Johnson in the preseason. These are guys that we would have started had they had not been subs in the first week. So they're guys that I want in my team. So I'm looking towards getting those guys. That's the first thing. And how we do that is going to be, double downgrade. I'll be probably using a boost and getting an upgrade. And then it's about who we go. Now, how I'm going to do this, first things first, Jinby has to go. Now, people could, obviously we've seen what he can do and his role's amazing, right? So you could hold him. The problem with holding him is this. If you don't get rid of him this week, he could potentially drop cash because he's obviously got a BE of 80. They play Port. That's not a great matchup. Then Carlton. That's a very bad matchup for mids, and he'll probably have to play on Cripps. So you got to hold him past these 2 games, and then you get to Richmond, Gold Coast, Hawks, which is a decent run for midfielders. So you're basically committing to holding him all the way up to round 10 for how much cash gain? I'm not sure. Like, if he's projected to go 70, 70, 70, 70, eventually he levels out, adds a bit of cash. If you hold him to round 10, he'll get to 342. So 50k it's like 10k a week. That's not really enough cash gen for me. You can trade him to a rookie, and in 1 week they'll get 50k. So he's basically a slow burn. Yes, he's an on-field player, but here's the thing. You can push him off field and then push, which is what I'm going to do here, and push a Zeeble or Sheasel back there. So in terms of on-field scoring, you're not going to lose out because you can still hold your other valuable rookies here in McKenna or Jones, or you might have Stocker or even Wilmot. Like Wilmot's proven to be a fairly serviceable D6 here. But yeah, Jimby's got to go. And then obviously, I would move a Sheasel or Zeeble back there into that defensive spot so that I'm not having to play an extra rookie in there or bring in a defensive rookie downgrade. The other one to go is Baker. I'm definitely getting rid of Baker. It's just time. Like he's made his money. I don't think he's got not much more to make. He's the 95 that he had when Hopper was out of his cycle. Yes, you can just cross your fingers and hope for another spike score, and potentially he gets that. But again, I'm just not. Someone's got to go. These are the guys I want to try and trade. Guys on the bench where you can, so that you're upgrading on field. So I'm technically taking one guy off field, but I'm actually upgrading one guy on field. So it's not going to impact in terms of how many rookies. I'm still playing the same amount of actually playing one less rookie on field. So it's ultimately a good thing. Now the last one, so I do want to do the double down and the one up. So I'm going to do the boost. And the last one is probably, so I'm thinking at the moment, Davey, which I held. So I've got a few options. I can go long if I want the cash. Long also has a break even. I think it's 22. So he's got a bit more to make. What is it? Oh, 37. So, I mean, technically you could, if you go 60, he's only going to make you another 11 grand. How much more does Long have in him? Again, small forward there. He's made his money. He's done his job. Potentially I could get rid of Long. Davey's the interesting one. So he has a break even of 0, but was said to play last week. Then out of nowhere, wasn't even named as an emergency. So they've obviously got a managed rest. But Snelling paid fantastic. Was probably the best small forward on the day who came in for Davey. So he can't drop him. John Menzies was probably the one that, I mean, he's been good so far this year, but he was probably of the small forwards, he was the worst. So if they're looking to, rest up the rooks and do a rotation, then, Davey could potentially come in for John Menzies. But if he doesn't, he'll be the one to go. If not, then I'll probably trade Noah Long. So at the moment, let's just trade Long. And yeah, let's just trade Long for now. And see how we go. All right, now, obviously we need to organise this trade. So first thing, as I said, I'm going to go Sheasel, bang, straight back into the back line. That looks just absolutely sexy, doesn't it? And I actually want to get in. This is the exact setup that I want to get in. All right, so I have 995 cash. Who am I getting? So the first... What's going on here? All right. Man, where's the filter button? Let's just go via break even. Here we go, Matt Roberts. So he'll go in as forward. Actually, let's get... Yeah, Matt Roberts. Okay. Now, keep an eye on guys like Seamus Mitchell with defensive forward. That's going to be fantastic. But we'll see what happens when Day comes back. He may be one in, one out. We'll have a look. There's quite a lot of guys here. I think he's on -1. Matty Johnson. Yep. So I go him, and now I've got 726k. So in an ideal world, I mean, again, that's enough money if I want to go get Clary, but why would I? He's got a break-even of 168. You kind of got to, again, I'm hedging. He could go huge and could completely ruin my season, and that's okay. That's the decision that I have to make. The one that I really, 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 really like is Took. Now, eventually I will get here. Round 5 summary. Go by average. Oh, there he is, Took Miller. So Took, the reason why I like Took is his fixture coming up. So North this week for the Gold Coast, which is obviously ideal. Let's bring it down. And then Richmond, so a nice run there. Oh, man, this site, I tell you what, is just cooked. So, yeah, North and Richmond, obviously Melbourne won there. That's not great. But West Coast there, so 3 out of the next 4 are really favourable for mids. He can score whatever he wants in the derby against Brisbane, so I'm not worried about that. Dogs isn't great, but then Adelaide, Carlton, and then Hawthorn. So a really, really great run. But yeah, 3 of the next 4. This is the sort of run where 2 can all of a sudden go on 150s every week. And that's legit. Oh, no, there we go. So if I make that, I still have 150k. Sorry, 150k. 102k. And that's going to help me next week. So let's put Took on field with Philippou here. Again, hopefully Green gets off. If not, then obviously I can... what I'll probably do is play... Actually, I think I can loop. So Johnson plays on the Friday night. Yeah. So Johnson will play on the Friday night. I can loop him with Constable if I need to. And then I can play Philippou on field or whatever it might be. So yeah, there's loop abilities there. So look, 102k. So next week I'm looking to, one up, one down one of these guys, probably, or both. So if they both, put out poor scores, McKenna and Jones, you'd be going, one down, one up. I can either get Sinclair next week quite easily, or I can get Day if I just want to go that option. If I want, I've got to make a call on that. But I need another week's data. So Day, what we know with Day is that he's probably, your D6 option at your 450k, right? So cheap enough that you probably want to get on if you think that he's going to be a D6, which is fine. Sinclair is one that I definitely want to get, but I'm still paying the break-evens. I think Sinclair has a break-even about 113. So even if he goes, 113, I don't have to worry about, rushing out to get him because he's not going to go up. So I can kind of hedge that I can probably push that out a week, but his run from round 8 is insane. So I just have to get Sinclair by round 8. So yeah, if I go 1 down, 1 up next week, and then I might even go double down and 1 up, honestly, with the 6 rookies coming in. There could be 2 rookies that I'll need again next week. That'll keep me with enough cash to get Sinclair the following week for sure. And that's the play. So yeah, so Day next week with these guys, and then Sinclair the week after. In terms of vice captain, guys, look, I think you can't really go past Bont if he's going to roll this form on the Friday night. Now, obviously, a lot of people will have English. I probably wouldn't do English this week. This is the week that you probably go, look, he's probably going to get beaten in the ruck hitouts. Don't get me wrong, he can still score around the ground, etc. But I would prefer probably Bont in this situation. That's just me. If you really wanted to, you could probably avoid your dogs in this fixture. But I probably wouldn't. I'd probably back him in, even though it's at Optus. Adelaide Hawthorn. So if McGuinness isn't in, you can pretty safely go with, even though they did use Connor Nash as a tagger. I would say that Dawson or Laird. So I've thought about VCing. I don't think captain is what I would do here. I think if I'm VCing Bont, I'm not captaining Dawson. That's a bit. I don't like that. I would prefer to VC Dawson if I had the chance to. And then further on, Took against North is probably who I'm going to captain. Clary versus Richmond. If you've got Clary, then I think that's a lock C. And then you can always go Dacos because Dacos is just absolutely killing it at the moment. But so I'm probably going to be VC into C Took, and that is my team, guys. So hopefully I can make up 1 point on the competition this week, have a decent week, and roll through. I do get the feeling though that with me keeping Green, like if I was to tread water, that's probably the best case scenario. If Green isn't done, I'm not trading Green, not for a 1 weeker. That's how you wait. That's how you end up in round 20 and an injury, and you don't have a trade because you sideways Green for a 1 week injury. Not worth it. Yes, guys, let me know how you went in the comments, obviously down below. Other than that, have a fantastic week, and I'll catch you next time. Bye.